Hi, and welcome to the webinar. My name's Michael Smith. I am a BI consultant within the data governance stream here at Billigence. Today we're going to be introducing Collibra and discussing streamlined trusted business reporting. We're also joined by Roland Shepherd, who is a senior solutions consultant at Collibra. He's going to be sticking around to the end of the call to answer any questions you might have about the platform. But without further ado, I'd like to get straight into my presentation. As I mentioned, today we're going to be introducing Collibra and discussing streamlined trusted business reporting. What I'm going to have is a quick presentation, then we're going to dive in and do a demo within the Collibra platform itself and finish up with some Q&A. So if you have any questions along the way, please pop them in the chat window. But first, let's kick off and give a quick overview of who Billigence are. We are a technology consultancy transforming the way people work with data. As you can see, we have a global presence with offices here in Sydney, as well as Singapore, Prague, Frankfurt, London, and San Diego. What we focus on delivering value for our customers across cloud data architecture, data governance, predictive modeling, data visualization, and automated CRM. And we do this across a number of verticals and industries. Here's just an example of some of our clients we work with across the globe. And as you can see, they vary across a number of different verticals, including education, finance, and telco, to name a few. Moving on to Collibra. So where does Collibra come into this? Well, we at Billigence are a Collibra partner and have been involved in numerous implementations and consulting projects, adding value and helping improve the data governance process of organizations leveraging the Collibra platform. To understand Collibra, it's good to understand what it helps to achieve, and that's data intelligence. Data intelligence is real-time, compliant access to trustworthy data. It's providing the right data with the right context to the right user. It's built on collaboration across all technical and business users. It is privacy-minded data democratization. Data intelligence is built on 5 main pillars. These are ease of finding data, understanding your data, trusting that data, being able to collaborate, and ultimately gain access to that data. Collibra helps achieve data intelligence. It accelerates trusted business outcomes by connecting data, insights, and algorithms to all data citizens. For example, this could be data architects, data stewards, or any business users across an organization. Its cloud-based platform is built with the business user in mind and fosters collaboration. The platform connects IT and the business to build a data-driven culture for the digital enterprise. What Collibra becomes is the central repository for the whole business and the single source of truth for data across organizations. In the same way, Salesforce is the source of truth for sales. But today we're going to focus on how Collibra helps achieve streamlined, trusted business reporting. This is a challenge that many organizations face, especially when they're trying to make trusted business decisions. If we look at this from the example of a business analyst or a data steward, we can say they face a number of hurdles every day. For example, they might have trouble knowing where to find people and other business-related data that they need, and knowing whether or not they can trust that data. They might also see a lack of data ownership and stewardship, which leads ultimately to diminished data quality, trust, and accountability. They may also see inconsistency in data definitions in different reports within and across business lines, as there's no single source of truth for business terminology. And this is a common scenario that we've seen here at Billigence, and I'm sure Collibra as well. We've had a client who had a number of business terms in spreadsheets with no central location, as well as a whole library of BI reports. What we're able to do using Collibra is provide a user-friendly way to centralize these assets and make it easy to find them. And we can do this by leveraging Collibra's cataloging functionality, as well as its stewardship functionality, where we're able to assign responsibilities on the governance of assets, helping them become trusted enterprise-wide. We'll go on to look at this in a little bit more detail in our demo, but if we just think back to some of those issues that we've just mentioned, we can see that a lack of a single source of truth leads to a number of negative consequences with real business outcomes. So just to bring some of these to the fore, some of the real common negative consequences of a pre-Collibra approach might be things like wasted time meeting with resources, back and forth going through emails, trying to get the right definition, setting up meetings to agree on things. And because of this, you're going to see higher costs spent on labor inefficiencies due to the likes of duplicate data. And a really big one, this is where we see analysts wasting 3/4 of their time finding, accessing, and validating data rather than doing their actual work. As we'll see in Collibra, it's really easy to find the data that you're looking for. And what Collibra helps to do is reduce this time spent and let analysts get on with their actual work of providing insight to business. So how I'd like to progress this before we move into the demo is just paint a bit of a picture with a scenario. Collibra automates workflows and helps facilitate collaboration. So let's just have a look at this scenario and understand and how organizations can be helped to establish a common understanding for their reports. Let's have a look at our diagram. We have a CFO who wants to use a report to provide business insight, but first they need to trust that data. The CFO asked Joanna, the report owner from the marketing team, to certify the quality of the report. Joanna opens Collibra and searches for the report in question. She then uses Collibra Catalog to explore the KPIs used in the report to see if they've been approved by the data steward, John. She notices that a KPI is not approved, but it looks like it has all the right information, so she can kick off an approval process workflow within Collibra. This workflow then creates a task for our data steward, John. He will be a subject matter expert and will be able to approve and certify the quality of the KPI to build trust that the report is accurate. Once he receives his task in Collibra, he can verify the details are correct and approve the KPIs within the report. Joanna then receives a notification, and this can be done via email as well outside of the platform, to signify that the KPI has been approved and that the report is accurate and good for business use. Joanna can now with confidence recommend the report to the CFO, and that should be ready to use to drive business insights. So what I'd like to do after describing this scenario is just jump into the Collibra platform, give a really brief introduction to some of the features, and then show you this scenario in action. Okay, so I have just logged into the Collibra platform as Joanna. As you can see, we're met with this landing page. This is a Collibra customizable dashboard. Here we can get a quick snapshot of the activity that's happening within the platform. So we can see things here like any outstanding tasks we might have. We can also see the amount of assets and how many of them have been approved, as well as being able to kick off common tasks or workflows at the top level. From here, we can navigate across the top and introduce some of our features. So in Collibra, we have communities. Communities in Collibra are simply a grouping of people and assets by business function or logical grouping. As you can see, there are different communities for different business units, but let's just take a quick look at the marketing one, for example. We can see within our logical grouping of a community or business unit, which is marketing, we have these subdomains. These domains are a logical grouping of assets within a community. So we can see things here like a digital marketing glossary. This will contain business terms and their definitions. We might also have something like a process register or somewhere where marketing keeps their data sets. If we work our way across the top here, I can introduce more of the features. We have our search bar. This is just somewhere where we can search for all of our assets, but I'll come back to this in a minute when we dive into our scenario. Moving across, we have our create button. This is a contextual create button. So from here, we can kick off common tasks or workflows, as well as add assets. And depending where you are on the platform, this will be tailored to what you would need to add. Next, we have our shopping basket. This is where we're able to check out data in a sort of Amazonification of the data experience. That might be a workflow for another day, but it's a great way that users can request and get access to data. Next, we have our tasks. Again, this is where we're notified if there's any updates required from the user in terms of the workflows. Next, we have some help and some profiling. But if I just expand this menu here, we can see that we can access our business glossary. Again, this is just a central location for all of our business terms and definitions. Next, we have our catalog. So this is where we centralize all of our data dictionary, data assets, things like that. And again, we'll be searching that. We'll also have the likes of our BI reports stored within our Collibra catalog. We also have our policy manager, which is somewhere where we can store and link to our policies. We also have our reference data, which is just a space where we can store things like location codes or other reference data. Then we have the likes of our data help desk, which is closely linked to our issue management. So here we can get a high-level view of some of the reported issues with our data within Collibra. And similarly, for our stewardship, this is a nice high-level view of some of the governance and the roles and responsibilities that users have been assigned. But for now, let's get back to our scenario. So we're Joanna, and we have been given the task of certifying a report requested by the CFO. So let's search for that report using our search bar. So the report I want to find is called Financial KPI Dashboard. And let's just click search. As you can see, when I press enter, we're met with the search results screen, and this is really powerful. So as you can see, I have found the report that I was looking for. But if we wanted to drill down and find a similarly named report, we can drill down using our filters on the left-hand side. So we can search by like organization, by category, by asset type, by status. But for now, I'm just going to click on the asset that I was searching for, which is the Financial KPI Dashboard. So as you can see, Collibra provides a way to really quickly find your data, helping to alleviate part of that 75% time spent by analysts actually trying to find data. Next, we'll look at how, using these next few screens, how we can trust and understand that data more easily. So on this page, we can see a preview and detailed information about the report in question. On the left-hand side, there are several tabs to review, such as lineage diagrams, pictures, the data quality, roles and responsibilities, references, and other things such as history and attached files of our report. In the center, we can also see key information about the report. We have a description, a report preview image, and if we scroll down a bit, we can see some related assets. So we can see that this report is impacted by another report. And we can also here see some of the key performance indicators or KPIs that actually drive this report. Scrolling down slightly further, we see the collaboration element coming into play here. So we have our tags, but we also have our rating system and comments section. Similar to how you might leave a review on something you've bought on Amazon, and you can really see what other people think about this data. So for example, we can see this one is 5 stars and it's very insightful. This kind of peer review functionality is really good for building that trust of data assets. But what I'd like to do briefly with this preview in mind is just drop into our diagram. So what this diagram does is actually give a really nice visual way to represent what we've just looked at on screen. So here we have our report, and this is again going to be used to build trust in this report. So we can see this report, and I can just add some labels here as well to make it more readable. We can see a nice linear diagram here where our report is related to those KPIs that I mentioned. And what we can do is actually see the source of those KPIs. So we can see that these are impacted by these measures, which again are taken directly from this system. And what's really nice about these diagrams is we can drill down into this information to get more context. So we can see that this operating expenses measure is actually in the OPEX data schema, and we can keep drilling down to the table level and right down to the specific column. So again, in the idea of building trusted reporting, we can really get down to the level of detail we need to know the source of where our information is coming from. So if we look at our report and we've got all these details in hand, what we'd like to do as Joanna is actually certify this report. So Joanna has had a look at all the details, looked at the diagram. Everything looks good to her. So she wants to kick off a certification workflow where subject matter experts can give their opinion. So what we can do here, if we just click on actions, we can see that this provides a list of workflows. We have some other ones here as well. So we have something called Ask the Expert. It sounds like what it is. Basically here, there can be a subject matter expert attached to a report. And you can ask a simple question to find out more information before you would get on to the point where you'd need to certify it. We can also do something like create an issue. So if we noticed there was something wasn't quite right with one of the KPIs, we could actually report that as an issue. But in this case, we're pretty happy with what we see and we want to get certification. So if I just click on the Certify Report button here, we'll see that a workflow has started. So what it's asking for here is actually to confirm the owner of the report. So what I like to do at this stage is using our menu on the left-hand side is to scroll down to responsibilities. So what we want to check out here is in this particular report, we can see that the owner of the report is Joanna. We can also see that the technical and business steward is John, who we mentioned previously. So if I just go back to my workflow task at the top here, I click confirm because we know who the owner is. Yep, it's Joanna. We're happy with that. Business steward is John. Happy with that. And again, the technical steward is John. So let's just confirm. Okay, so it's asking us now to please confirm the description. The description of the asset looks good. So let's just confirm. The next task, as you can see at the top here, is we need to approve the measures. Please make sure all related measures went through the approval process successfully. So let's go back and check our KPIs. So let's just click on details and scroll down. If you remember back to our diagram, we have 5 main KPIs and we can check the status of these. So we can see accepted, accepted. Okay, day cash on hand is in candidate status. I wonder why that is. Let's go and check it out. So we can link to these KPIs straight from the report by just clicking on it here. So you can really get into the context of your reports and of your data using our relations functionality. So as Joanna, we're looking at this KPI, we can see it has a definition, it has a calculation rule. It even has an acronym. And again, this is a really nice feature where Collibra adds value and business context. It might be your first day on the job or something, and you've got an email and it says DCH in it. It's like, what does that mean? Actually, you could go into Collibra and search for it, and you could understand that, okay, let me click on that, DCH. Okay, it's an acronym for something. It's related to days cash on hand. And that way it just helps build that trust and business context around your data as well. But yes, sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked there. If we move on, we can see that we're also linked to business terms as well, getting more of that business context. And again, here's these measures that we saw in our diagram, and they all look good as well. So Joanna would then maybe just check the responsibilities. Okay, it looks like this is quite well governed, and all these responsibilities have been assigned. Joanna wants to approve this now. So what she wants to do is just kick off the simple approval workflow. And again, this workflow has been started. So as John, again, as we look at the responsibilities, is our technical steward, what this workflow will do is go to John. So what I'll do now is just switch to John. Here we are, and let's work through this workflow. So John, as the technical steward, needs to approve the data as he is the subject matter expert. If we just notice we have 9 tasks, and again, coming back to our dashboard, we can see John has 9 open tasks. If I refresh, we can see that now moves up to 10. So what I'd like to do is just see what this task is. Okay, cool. Yep, we have our days cash in hand, and somebody has asked for an approval. So if I just click on approval, that'll bring me straight through to the days cash on hand KPI, and we can vote for the approval of the KPI. So I think some of the most important aspects that as a subject matter expert like John would need to check out is the definition. Again, it looks good. We can look at the calculation rule. We can see that all the measures are in place. It's also important that John checks out the responsibilities. And again, as we saw, this is already really well filled out. So John, as a subject matter expert, having reviewed all of this information that's available in Collibra, has got trust that this should be accepted, and he can then approve it. So if I just click on the approve reject button, what's your reason for approving or rejecting? You can add a lot more context here. I'm just going to put in a simple approved message and click the approve button. You will now see that the status that was previously candidate for our KPI has changed to accepted. And if we scroll down, we also see John's comment as well. So John could have added some extra information here for Joanna to pick up, and she would have been really easily been able to reply and read his feedback. So I will just change back to Joanna. John's role has now finished. Let's just go to the overview and refresh our page. Again, check out how the candidate changes to accepted. Okay, so the subject matter expert has approved this KPI. Joanna is happy. She wants to go back to her report. So if we scroll down, we remember that this report is linked to that report, so I can click straight through to that. And we can pick up our original workflow here. So again, we're still a candidate and we're still not certified, but now we're sure that all the measures have been through the approval process successfully. So what I want to now click on is done. Joanna's happy. We just have this final message that says report certified. The report has been certified by going through the correct process, and we're happy that this has changed to accepted and our little certified flags here. And again, if I just click done, that will end our workflow. What's nice here as well is just that Joanna could give some insight as to what she did to get this report approved. Again, just building on that trust enterprise-wide. So if anybody comes and searches for this report, it's been peer reviewed. Joanna has said exactly the process that it's gone through. So we can see here that it's been through the correct process. The technical business steward and the owner are happy that it's assigned to the right people. It is a well-written definition, and the report has an above average rating of 50%. Again, just really quick cues to help build confidence and trust in your data. With all of this in mind, Joanna sees that the report is accepted by John, our data steward. She is now happy and ready for a board meeting and can confidently share this report with her CFO. And be sure that with confidence, you can use it for business insights. What I'd like to do now is just jump back to my presentation briefly and recap what we saw there. So just to recap, trusting people and business data can only be achieved through proper governance. The only way to safeguard data quality is by having people that are accountable for data and the processes that verify and validate that data. Collibra enables trusted decision-making by ensuring the consistent understanding of terms and metrics, documenting data owners and stewards, and identifying critical data elements. This leads to direct business outcomes, such as increased confidence in decision support data and increased productivity of knowledge workers. As a result, businesses are able to reduce by 10 to 20% in new report requests and BI licenses, anywhere between 20 and 50% reduction in report redundancies. Ultimately, Collibra becomes an organization's single source of truth for data and gives users their time back for the tasks they should be focusing on. That concludes my brief presentation. I'd now like to open up to some Q&A. Let me just open the Q&A. We have some questions here. Okay, we have one from Tom. What reporting systems does Collibra currently integrate with? Roland, I might hand over to you for that one.
Yes, hopefully you can hear me there now.
Yeah,
so that's good. So we currently integrate with Tableau, Power BI, and Google's Looker, currently natively out of the box. However, we do have the capability to create custom integrations to other BI reporting sources.
That's great. Thanks for that, Roland. I have another question here. Can we change the workflows or approval rules of the certification process? Yep, I can take that one. Yeah, you absolutely can. Our workflows in Collibra are customizable. We think, for example, the certification process there, it was just a yes or no. Many businesses might have a bit of a standard there where it needs to be gold, silver, and bronze, so they can really build extra levels of trust across their business. So there's things within the workflow that we can change to fit your business needs in terms of trusting your data. Is there anything like to add there, Roland?
Yeah, and also on the approval processes, like you can do, one must approve, many people must approve, a majority of people, all those sort of quorum approval roles that you can put in place. The demonstration just had a simple approval, but we can get as complex and as needed inside that organisation, depending on, as you say, the business requirements. Michael, is very, very flexible, powerful part of the Collibra platform, the workflow engine, and it really tries to streamline that whole process to make it as easy as possible to get these reports in and certified in a consistent manner, so that, as you say, we can keep trusting that, so everyone knows that it has got the right information, we have done the right things, and using the workflow to step people through that process so that your organisation has the confidence to move forwards and use that and not have to go and search that information, which is really, really quite a powerful thing, in my opinion.
Cheers for that, Roland. Just another one here as well. So we have a lot of reports, thousands of them. Yeah, that's a really common issue. This is a huge issue for us, and I'd like to know what level of effort is required. It's required to get this sort of capability into my organization. So yeah, Roland, the user has tons of reports. What's the sort of level of effort needed to get this functionality into their organization?
Yeah, well, I mean, ideally, if it's one of their, we do look after the reporting powerhouses, Power BI, Tableau, and looking if it's one of those systems, the effort isn't huge, because we do the native integrations to bring all of that information into the catalog. And depending on the level of certification process you need, as you say, if we go gold, silver, bronze, for example, you can quite quickly identify those gold ones and sort of work through that. It is a manual process, but it's quite quick to go through that. You do need those data citizens to be involved in that process, and it's a little bit of effort for each one who owns that reports. Often finding that ownership is the hard part, but it's mapping that conceptual, logical model up to the physical report and getting that real trust between it. And that ownership, you can then drives all those other workflows like that Ask the Expert example you talked about, the issues, the data help desk. It basically lets that person, they don't need to go and chase down. In reality, every single person who does that report would actually move back to say, who owns this report? I don't know, or worse off, actually, I'm going to go create my own report. And then we start having those data brawls. So the level of effort to get it in is minuscule compared to the amount of value you get out of that question as well. So we have some spearheads, some standardized use cases of packaging around this trusted business reporting. It's about 5 to 6 weeks worth of effort on top of a deployed Collibra instance. So from that aspect, it's not a huge amount of time or effort for the ongoing value you get into that as well. And because we do that ingestion from those sources regularly, it's always up to date. You can make sure that it is certified ongoing. It's not just a one-stop, okay, we've done it once and we get stale data. We do keep recertifying as things change. So as I said, that whole life cycle of that process becomes, really well managed and maintained, and then everyone can actually, we see reduction in BI licenses because people can find those reports. Michael, you can't, we don't need thousands of reports in because there's probably a whole bunch of duplicate ones. So we're helping people identify those duplicate reports as well and minimize those reports and creation and the BI licenses required. There's a whole bunch of benefits that come on the back end of this. That the effort up front is pretty minuscule to get there, in my opinion. And we've got some great customers that love this process and love it around the world and within the APAC region, Australia. So it's been done, it's been repeatable, and we just love to see it get out there.
Awesome, cheers, Roland. Another question's just slipped through to us here as well. So it's kind of similar theme. It's how long does it typically take to deploy Collibra into an organization of hundreds of employees? That might be linked to some of the spearheads that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's obviously a how long's a piece of string question, but the typical we like to look at one of the use cases, and as you say, if we're talking about looking at getting an end-to-end result for something like trusted business reporting, we can get there within that sort of 2 to 3 month period, depending on internal complexities and security and the other sort of issues that are outside of our control and need to go through change management and those sort of things. But it's a couple of months worth of effort to get there typically. I'll put the little asterisk there as always, but we just need to scope it properly. But that sort of gives you a broad estimation of where we get to. And as I say, we've got some very clear, concise package, because we've done this hundreds of times with our customers, so we know what we need to do. And there's a very structured way to drive value as quickly as possible from the initial investment in the platform. So it's a good question, but it is quite there's a lot of content out of the box that you can leverage, and with the native connectors, it makes it very seamless and straightforward. So.
Yeah, that was great, Roland. Thanks for that. So I think that's actually all of our questions for today. Let me just check. Yep. So I guess just want to say thanks very much for your time and everybody for joining. And thanks especially to Roland for helping me field those questions at the end. Really appreciate it. If there's any questions or any follow-up, this is obviously a very brief tour of everything Collibra and Streamlined Trusted Business Reporting. If you have any further questions, please reach out to myself or Roland at Collibra. We'll be more than happy to spend a little bit more time and go through it in more detail. So thanks again, and thanks for joining.